Hello and thanks for your interest in AutoDoc HSE. This presentation looks at the key concepts that combine to provide the system's simple but powerful functionality. The trigger which makes AutoDoc HSE swing into action is a user printing a print job to the AutoDoc HSE printer. When the printer receives the print job, it starts looking through every piece of content in the document. So what's it actually looking for? Well, the primary thing the system looks for is font color. And this is what makes the system so easy to integrate into your existing IT infrastructure, because the language AutoDoc HSE speaks is a language that most of your existing software already speaks, and that's the language of font color. And the chances are you also already know how to speak AutoDoc's language. You just change the font color, which in most applications is just a matter of a few mouse clicks, as seen here. Now what you're actually doing by making a change like this is changing a set of numerical color codes. Colors are stored as a mix of red, green and blue values, otherwise known as RGB values, which are each a range from 0 to 255. So by changing the font color to this particular yellow, what you've actually done is change the RGB values to 255, 244 and 15. It's also worth keeping in mind that AutoDoc HSE does speak another language. Instead of using font color, you configure the system to use a position of text on the page. So even if you can't manipulate font color in your document outputs, you can still use AutoDoc HSE. But for this presentation, we'll assume you are using font color. Okay, so now we know that AutoDoc HSE understands font color. But what is it exactly that the color is telling AutoDoc? There are two main things that font color communicates to the system. The first are what we call textual commands. A textual command is simply something that tells the system to do something, such as sending an email, a fax, an SMS, or creating a backup or hard copy. The second thing font color can communicate to the system are what we call variables. A variable is a piece of text from the print job that has been captured by AutoDoc HSE for later use. This could be the customer's name or an invoice number, for example. Once the system has stored this information, it can use it again to do something like automatically creating a personalized email, which is addressed specifically using the customer's name. Now, the best way to demonstrate textual commands and variables is to show you an example. Here's an example I've used elsewhere in the corporate Bloom presentation. In that presentation, this document is a delivery slip which a florist prints up to accompany a delivery. But when she prints it, it doesn't actually print because instead AutoDoc HSE emails it, faxes it and sends an SMS. Now if I change the background color of this document, you'll see very quickly how AutoDoc does what it does. Here it is, the magic ink, so to speak. This is white text, which in a typical document, of course, looks just like that. You can't see it. But AutoDoc does find it, and white text has an RGB value of 255 for each of the red, green and blue values. And if I open up the AutoDoc HSE configuration console, you'll see that it's been configured to recognize white text as a textual command. So once this document is printed to the AutoDoc HSE printer, the system finds this hidden text over here, which is just white as far as it's concerned, and recognizes the format of the email address. So it knows it has to send an email, and so on for the fax and the SMS message. Now the email that AutoDoc sends includes some very clever information, like a personalized greeting, and some of the information from the delivery slip itself. Now this is achieved by using AutoDoc HSE variables, which are also based on font color. If we go back to the configuration console again, and look at the variable configuration, here, we'll see that we've created a variable called customer name, which we've instructed AutoDoc to look for as being in RGB values of 2, 2 and 2. Now if we go back to the document again, select this particular piece of text here and examine the font color, we'll see that it's been set as 2, 2 and 2. So that's how AutoDoc HSE is able to use text from the document in other ways. You'll notice that this text here looks just like black text. All these other bits of text also have a slightly different RGB value, so they can all be recognised individually by AutoDoc, but to the human eye, the difference is so slight that you can't tell it's anything other than black text. There are in fact hundreds of shades of difference here, so there's lots of room to work. Remember also that you choose what colours AutoDoc HSE uses for variables and textual commands. It's all configurable. Another very important point to remember is that while I've manually created this delivery slip in Microsoft Word, which means I manually set the colours on the text, you can very easily set up your other software so that its reports include colour-coded fields automatically. That just means that if, for example, you have an invoice to print, when the user hits the print button, your accounting software grabs the report template that it uses for invoices and reels off an invoice, which automatically includes colour-coded text. So then, if the user has printed that invoice to an AutoDoc HSE printer, AutoDoc checks out the colour coding before deciding what to do with it. If it's just printed to a standard printer, it just gets printed out and the text looks just like normal text. You saw in the delivery slip example that variables were configured as different shades of black. The variables configuration takes place in an area of the configuration console known as the Form Template Setup area. This is really the engine room of the system from the point of view of getting your print jobs delivered exactly as you want them delivered, and allows you to configure things like who receives emails and faxes, what other attachments or cover pages are included in the deliveries, which printers are used to produce hard copies, where backups are archived and under what file names, what variables are stored and used, and what letterheads are used, and on what pages. Now, please note this has only been a very brief look at what makes the system work. AutoDoc HSE is a very flexible system and has many more features than we've touched on here. Please check out our other presentations for more details or contact us directly for more information. Thanks again for your interest.